I still remember over 20 years ago when I suffered anxiety attacks. My sister told me that an idle mind is the playground for the devil. So what she's saying that my mind is too free. There's nothing going on in there, so the devil has come to play. So I believed her then, but I would like to correct that statement today. An anxious mind is not idle at all. It is busy looping the same thoughts over and over again. And what is that thought that is looping? It is looping the worry that anxiety will return. So it's actually thinking about anxiety even though the mind doesn't want to think about it. This is well described in what the Buddha called the second arrow. The Buddha said that the first arrow that hits you gives you physical pain. The second arrow is what the mind does about the arrow. In this case, the mind would start thinking and worrying. Now that I'm hit with the arrow, what is going to happen to me? Am I going to die? Oh my God, I'm bleeding so much, I'm going to die. The pain is so unbearable. He said that it is not the first arrow that is the problem. It is our mind's resistance to what is happening that causes suffering. Granted, our bodies are dying daily, and it will age, and it will fall sick, and eventually come apart. But our minds need not suffer with the body. Suffering arises when our minds resist. When our minds resist what's happening right here and now. And that is what anxiety is about. Because there's the fear of the feeling of anxiety, there is resistance to that feeling. Resisting the fear, the mind keeps thinking about how to defend itself against the feeling and to fight against it. And because it keeps thinking about strategies of how to fight against it or to avoid it, it then creates a loop of constant thinking about the anxiety itself. Thinking about something actually brings that feeling into our experience. There are many conditions that cause anxiety. Some people suffer from separation anxiety. Some suffer from the fear of claustrophobia, fear of heights, to even thunderstorms. When these conditions arise, there is anxiety. What I suffered from is actually the anxiety of all anxieties, existential fear. No matter what conditions cause these anxieties, it leads back to that one thing we all dread. The fear of not having control, and death is not having control. So existential fear is the fear of death, and death means no control. Although mindfulness has been marketed as a method for stress reduction, which is true, it does reduce stress. But the ultimate teaching of mindfulness in Buddhism is to really become aware of awareness. By becoming aware of awareness, we learn to understand what is life and what is death. We come to understand what is life and death. When we become aware of awareness, we realize that awareness itself doesn't change. It is stable, it is unconditioned, it does not arise or cease, it is always there. Compared to our feelings and thoughts, which are changeable, unstable, and conditioned by our senses. Conditioned by our senses means that we react to what we sense, such as react to the things we see, smell, touch, hear, and taste. And it includes our reactions to ideas. So thinking is considered a sense base in Buddhism. There are many ways to become aware of awareness. But in order to know awareness, we need to learn to understand the quality of our feelings. Usually we prize thinking above feelings, and in our society we either explain away the feelings we dislike or we suppress them. Otherwise we get lost in very pleasant feelings and we want more of it, only to see that it dissipates, and to want more of it we'll have to run after it, and it can cause fatigue and stress. When we pay attention to feelings, we realize how our world of experience really revolves around feelings. When we understand what feelings of anger, fear, jealousy, and envy feels like, we understand that these feelings gives us hellish experience. And then when we compare these unwholesome feelings that gives us hellish experience to feelings of peace, calm, compassion, and forgiveness, we realize that these wholesome feelings of peace, calm, compassion feels heavenly. They give us heavenly experiences. So to develop mindfulness, which is another word for awareness, we need to gradually change our minds towards more wholesome experiences by choosing wholesome feelings. And when we are able to do that, it makes mindfulness meditation easier and easier as we progress. Over 20 years ago, anxiety spiraled out of control in my experience, and there was much fear of being alone. Anxiety attacks bring on rapid heartbeat that makes one think that one is going to die. There is the experience of shortness of breath, clammy hands, dry mouth, and the body freezes from fear. People are not very sympathetic about anxieties about 20 years ago. So counseling didn't work for me. And in the end, I had to depend on medication given from a psychiatrist who advised me to lock the memories that causes anxiety in a box and to never open that box again. I was asking him existential questions, and how not having answers to those existential questions caused anxieties. How could he ask me to lock these questions up in a box and to not take them out again? He didn't understand that having existential fear is a problem and it will pop up again and again and again. And why is that so? Because as human beings, all of us are aware we're going to die. And existential fear stems from not knowing why we're alive when we have to die, and also not understanding where death will lead us. So most people think that death is the end of everything, and they seem very comfortable with it, or else they don't question it. But I just happen not to be able not to question that. So taking medication for the anxiety really helped, but it also numbed my feelings. And one day, I had the realization that anxiety wasn't killing me. I also had the insight, and this is a very important insight I had over 20 years ago. I wasn't even a meditator, I wasn't a Buddhist, I don't even know what was mindfulness. I had this insight that thinking of anxiety by not wanting it actually brought it into my experience again and again. That realization made me decide to treat fear as a friend. And by doing that, I changed my relationship with fear and anxiety. Instead of treating it as an enemy, it became a friend that was kind to me. I replaced my medication with lozenges. And at the time, I didn't know I was practicing mindfulness. I was aware and alert that at any sign where the feeling of anxiety might arise, I would say hello to it and welcome it as a friend. Mindfulness is not about sitting in formal meditation and just paying attention to the breath and blanking out. Mindfulness is not an exercise to make the mind dull. Rather, it's an exercise to awaken the mind. Mindfulness is the quality of knowing whatever is most salient in our experience. For example, if at this moment we are moving our hand to take something, and this is salient in our experience, there is mindfulness. That means there is the awareness to know that the hand is being extended and the fingers are reaching out to grab something. So mindfulness is about knowing when a feeling arises in our experience, be it anger, be it happiness, be it hunger, be it pain. We know. We know when it arises. We know when it persists, how long it persists. We know when it ceases. And the more stronger your mindfulness is, the more you become aware of more subtle things, such as your thought. You become aware when a thought arises, and you become aware how that thought is connected to the feeling and how they are related and interdependent. And you also realize how the body reacts to the feeling, how the body is interdependent with feelings and thoughts. And you can watch them all arise, persist, and cease, just like watching a TV drama series on Netflix. And when your mindfulness is that strong and able to see your thought patterns, the habitual thoughts that keep coming up, connected to the habitual feelings that it causes, that is when you gain the mastery to change your thoughts. And by changing your thoughts, it changes the tune of your feelings. So fast forward to more than a decade later, which is today, the combination of stabilizing attention with sitting meditation and being mindful in daily activities, meaning I spend time to be mindful of whatever I'm doing in the day without having any stories about them. It has helped me progress with my practice, and my awareness has become more steady. And when awareness is steady, it is aware of whatever arises in the body, speech, and mind. And while I was practicing mindfulness, there are still episodes of anxiety. So do not be mistaken. Mindfulness doesn't get rid of anything. Mindfulness is an awareness of our world of experience. So we cannot get rid of the feelings of fear. We can only become aware of them and to embrace them. So Buddhist teachers often use the ocean as a representation of unchanging knowing mindfulness, and the waves to represent our ever-changing feelings and thoughts. When I have strong awareness or mindfulness, I really experience fear as the waves or strong vibrations coursing through the body. And within the body itself, there is that stability of awareness, which is like the ocean, that knows this fear. Whenever I could do this over and over again, anxiety or fear becomes a more intimate friend because I was getting to know it at a deeper level. When I had COVID-19 and the post-symptoms, there were 2 anxiety attacks, one of which I was unable to manage because I was surprised by it. So I went to the doctors. However, thanks to the years of progressive meditation and mindfulness practice, which has deepened, I was able to overcome the tendency of the mind to be led by the strong waves of fear by chanting a certain mantra or prayer and visualizing the words of that mantra in my mind. It takes strength of the mind and also effort to stay with that mantra. At other times, I was able to remain as the ocean of awareness, watching the waves of fear coursing through my body with its vibration and just watching it run through, literally like waves, throughout my body. As you can see, my practice has progressed from turning fear into a friend to becoming intimate with it by allowing it to run through the body and my experience without resistance. And there is also the turning of the mind from fear to calm tranquility by chanting the mantras and visualizing the words of the mantras mentally. So I chant the mantra and visualize the words. When I feel that maybe my mindfulness isn't strong enough, then I would do that to turn the mind. The ultimate aim of mindfulness is to really rest our minds in this wide and spacious ocean of awareness as much as possible. To rest in this unchanging state of mind, which the Buddha called the deathless. And to do that is to take every opportunity, in particular during difficult times, when our minds are totally lost in lamentation, grief, or fear. These are times of opportunities to really learn to rest in awareness, not to suppress the feelings, not to explain the feeling away, not to get away from the feeling, not to suppress it, but to embrace it with the loving quality of our awareness. And that is the true meaning of compassion. In this way, we bring compassion to our suffering, and we are able to bring a lot of love and compassion to those around us and in the world. Awareness has also been described as the mother that has the ability to embrace the child, which are our unwholesome feelings, or what people call negative feelings. It is called unwholesome in the sense that creates a hellish experience for us, and we ignorantly indulge in it. Then there is ignorant indulgence, right? So in mindfulness meditation, we are not getting rid of our experience, whether good or bad, but we are learning to see it, learning to see what exactly is experience. So as I shared earlier, our world of experience is really dominated by feelings. And it's only through learning to see and to understand our world of experience, to become intimate with them, whether good or bad, and to embrace it with our motherly love, which is awareness, can there be understanding and compassion within ourselves, which then we are able to bring it to the world. And that is how the world can be a more peaceful place for all of us. And by doing so, our minds are never lost, not wandering in search of that peace that we think exists on the outside, but actually exists within us. So I offer this talk to anyone suffering from anxieties. And if you like, you can get in touch with us at mindfulbreath.sg or leave a comment in our YouTube channel. Thank you very much for listening.